Welcome back to Learn Astrology with Mary. My name's Mary English. You can find me at www.maryenglish.com, maryenglish.co.uk and UK Astrologer. Hello, how are you? Don't know where to start. I don't know how to introduce today's episode. I am pre-recording this because I'm going to be at the Astrological Association's annual conference the weekend that this is going out, and I'm giving a teeny weeny speech, so when you're listening to this, I don't know when you download it and listen to it, but can you send me some nice positive vibes? I will have already have made it's not a speech, giving a talk, would have already given the talk, and so I'm preparing for it at the moment, which is why I'm all over the place. Anyway, forget about me. What we're going to be covering today. So what happened? So there I was, just as you do, scrolling. And I came across this teeny clip of someone's speech. And the speech was about, he sort of seemed like somebody that knew about astronomy. Well, he was an astronomer. I twigged that. And he's talking about the Earth. And he calls it a pale blue dot. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. So you know how it is. Well, I don't know if this applies to you, because it might not, but it definitely applies to me if I come across something. I want to know more about that, because it was a very impressive, is the wrong word. It was a very riveting, interesting speech. And obviously, all you ever get on social media is a couple of seconds of something. And I think it's necessary sometimes to listen to the whole thing and also the context that it's in. But the point the chap was making was, us here on Earth, as far as the galaxy and the universe and everything else out there, so everything even past our solar system, our Earth is a teeny weeny, tiddly widdly little smidgen of a dot. And when you manage to get your head around that idea, it has a profundity to it, that us here on Earth, as far as significance of anything goes, we are super duper insignificant, which was near enough the point that he's making in his speech, this chap. So what I thought I'd do today, what I thought after I'd seen it, I've spent the last few days bloody researching all about it. I'm going to talk about the man himself that gave the speech. I'm going to talk about the date that the photograph was taken from deep in space to back here on Earth. So this isn't the one that they took from the moon to the Earth. This is not that. This is from a spaceship called Voyager One that was now deep into space and was just going to, and whoever it was that was controlling the rocket or whatever you call it, the Voyager-y thing, this guy asked them, whoever in the control room, to just turn the cameras round and take one last photograph of us, Earth, before it disappeared into deeper space. And you sort of think, what prompted him to even ask that? So this is where astrology helps. So I've had to do some time conversions, because they've given us some dates and times that are GMT, and then I had to convert it to where the control centre is, to have their local time, because this man had asked for this photograph to be taken. So just want you to know that I did a lot of work for this episode, okay? So off we go. So we're going to be talking about not just this man, but the event charts as well. But we're starting with a bloke called Carl Edward Sagan, who was born on the 9th of November 1934. He died on the 20th of December 1996, and he was an American astronomer, planetary scientist and science communicator. His best known scientific contribution is his research on the possibility of extraterrestrial life, including experimental demonstration of the production of amino acids from basic chemicals, blah, 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 blah. He argued in favour of the hypothesis, which has since been accepted, that the high surface temperatures of Venus are the result of the greenhouse effect. Initially an assistant professor at Harvard, Sagan later moved to Cornell University, where he spent most of his career. He published more than 600 scientific papers and articles and was an author, co-author and editor of more than 20 books. He wrote many popular science books such as The Dragons of Eden, Broca's Brain, Pale Blue Dot and The Demon-Haunted World. Now what we're focusing on today is this pale blue dot thing. So we'll come on to the pale blue dot in a moment. So let's have a look at his natal chart. So he's born the 9th of November 1934. That makes him a Scorpio. He's got moon in Sagittarius, a belief and believe in, he uses the word quite a lot, is very much moon in Sagittarius territory. Never challenge any Sagittarius planets on a person's chart. Never challenge their beliefs. You'll get knocked into space. Unless they like arguing. Some people love arguing, and actually, do you know, I don't. I like a discussion, but I don't like arguments. But if there's Sagittarius knocking about, what you want to make sure always, if you want to be the right side of the Sagittarius planetary person, is that their beliefs are their beliefs and they're unlikely to change them unless something particularly transformative happens to their beliefs. So we've got a Taurus ascendant, practical, down to earth, blah de blah. No other planets in Taurus because his Uranus is 28 degrees Aries in his 12th house. He's got Chiron 8 degrees Gemini in the first. He's got Pluto 26 degrees retrograde in his third. He's got Neptune and Mars conjunct in Virgo in the fourth. He's got Mercury retrograde, which I thought was very interesting. Don't forget, we're still doing Mercury retrograde people's charts. Mercury, and I didn't go searching for this, it was like, woo, I kind of had to meet a list of Mercury retrograde people, which is conjunct to his Jupiter, which is in Scorpio, his Venus in Scorpio, Sun in Scorpio, so he's got a nice little stellium in his 6th house of health, worry, routine, day-to-day work, blah, blah, blah. The moon's in the 7th, 21 degrees Saggy. Close personal relationships are important, but transient. I think he got married 3 times. We got NorthNode in Aquarius, and it's near enough exactly conjunct to his MC, which is 3 degrees Aquarius in his 9th house of long-distance travel, further education, philosophy, etc. And his Saturn's up there in Aquarius, quite happy, and that's in the 9th house of travel. The 10th and 11th are empty, the 2nd is empty, and the 5th is empty. Doesn't matter, we could do rulerships if we want to. So chart shape, he's not a bowl. He's not a bucket because his bowl is too big. He's sort of a splashy, splayy, locomotive-y type of, not even a locomotive. So he's a uneven chart shape, which makes him a splash. All the planets are dotted around the circle unevenly, except there's some gaps. He has got mostly squares and conjunctions and sextiles in his chart. He's only got 2 trines, so one Sun trine Pluto, because his Pluto's in Cancer and he's a Scorp, and Moon trine Uranus. Gonna have some crazy ideas, crazy feelings. Is that Moon? Oh, I'm reading that the wrong way around. Yes, Moon trine to Uranus, yeah. But the Moon is also square Mars, and the Moon is also square Neptune. Bit of a complex chart, that really, isn't it? Yeah, there's more red going on there than there is blue. Cardinal fixed mutable. He's mostly fixed. What a surprise, because he is a fixed sign. Fire, air, earth, and he's mostly water. He's predominantly fixed water. Right. Okay, so that's the birth chart. Now, let's go on to the important bit. So there he is. He's doing his thing. He's an astronomer. Is that right? Yes. And then eventually gets somehow or other into NASA. So let's see when that happens, that he starts getting mates with NASA. So he's in 1958, Sagan and Cooper worked on the classified military project A119, a secret, that's a lovely thing for a Scorpio. Oh, I'm doing something secret. That's such a key word, isn't it? A secret US Air Force plan to detonate a nuclear warhead on the moon and document its effects. Sagan had a top secret clearance at the Air Force and a secret clearance with NASA. In 1999, an article published in the journal Nature revealed that Sagan had included the classified titles of 2 Project A11 papers in his 1959 application for scholarship to University of California, Berkeley. A follow-up letter to the journal by project leader Leonard confirmed Sagan's security leak. From 1960 to 62, Sagan was a Miller Fellow at the University of California, Berkeley. Meanwhile, he published an article in 1961 in the journal Science on the atmosphere of Venus, whilst also working with NASA's Mariner 2 team. So he got some awards from NASA as well. So he sidestepped somehow or other and got into the NASA thing. Now, all we're concentrating on in this podcast is, I'm not doing a full roundup of him as a person because that's not what I'm querying today. What I'm querying is, if someone's made a speech and they're a Scorpio and in their lifetime they're sort of the founders of a couple of, at least 2 astronomy organisations or astronomy linked organisations, and then later on they say that the speech that he gave about this thing that happened was what's the word they used? Hold on just a second. Lost lecture. Carl Sagan's 1994 Lost Lecture, The Age of Exploration. I'll put that link in there as well. So what am I telling you? So, Voyager 1 went up into space, and when it was 6.4 billion kilometres, that's 4 billion miles away, and approximately 32 degrees above the ecliptic plane, it captured a portrait of our world. Caught in the centre of scattered light rays, a result of the picture so close to the sun, Earth appears as a tiny point of light, a crescent, only 0.12 pixel in size. So this Voyager mission went up in space for whatever the purposes of it was, obviously to find out further distances of our solar system and further on. So Voyager 1 was a space probe launched by NASA on September the 5th, 1977 as part of the Voyager program to study the outer solar system and the interstellar space between the sun's heliosphere. It was launched 16 days after its twin, Voyager 2. It was launched after its twin. Okay, it communicates through the NASA Deep Space Network to receive routine commands and transmit data to Earth. So it went up in 1977, is that right? 1977. Its mission is now 46 years, 11 months and 20 days. The mission background. So there was a proposal for a grand tour to study the outer planets led by NASA to begin work on a mission during the 1970s. Okay, so they've gone out in deep space to see all the other planets in our solar system. So it went past Jupiter in 1979. It went past Saturn. Give us a date. 1980. Communication issues. Of course, you're going to have communication issues, right? Deep blinking space. That's a bit more of it. Okay, so it went past Jupiter and Saturn, and I think it took pictures of. And then I think then they sent it further out into space, I believe. Anyway, don't quote me on that. But this photograph, so this guy, Carl, he's mates with the NASA people, and he goes, oh, just take one more photo of us where we are before you all bugger off to wherever it is you're going. So there's an actual date and time for when that photograph was taken. And I'm going to share on the podcast the photo itself, and let me just tell you what it looks like. So there's 3 coloured stripes going vertically. There's sort of a pinky one on the left and a bluey greeny one in the middle, and on the far right hand side is a sort of a brighter orangey pinky colour. And right in the centre of the photo you'll see this teeny weeny little dot. Like, it really is a tiddly widdly dot. Because first of all I thought, well, I can't really see that until I blew it up a bit, and yes, you can see it. And that's some rays of the sun. That's when the photograph was taken, and that's the Earth. Okay, and they've taken it from distant space, like zillions of miles away. Well, I could just give the distance that it was. And I sort of thought, well, what was going through this Carl chappie's head that he'd asked him to turn the thingy round and take one more photo? Like, what was the one more photo all about? Because that then springboarded his career to making, to writing a book about it, and so what effect did that have on him? So I've got the actual date and time that the photograph is taken, remembering of course that it takes a long amount of time for the photograph itself to come back to Earth, because it's such a long distance away and it's coming back electronically. It takes, I can't remember, it was something like weeks and weeks for this image to finally make its way back to Earth. It ain't instant. It's not like sending a text. So I've got 2 charts here. One where the photograph was exactly taken, so I've assumed that it's Houston in Texas, because that's sort of where they're generally operating from. I've got the correct time converted to that local time of Texas, Houston, Texas. And in Texas, in Houston, the ascendant is Libra, which is all nice and fluffy and let's get on with each other. The moon is in Libra as well, all nice and fluffy, let's all be lovely. Pluto is also in the first house in the sign of Scorpio. And there's an absolutely enormous stellium of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets in Capricorn in the 3rd house of communication, and 2 planets in the 4th house, which is the Sun and Mercury. So the Sun's in Aquarius, the Moon's in Libra, Mercury's in Aquarius, Venus, Mars, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune. So this is during the, what I always call the indigo conjunction, because it's, trust me, if you're an indigo, you'd love this chart. There's a grand trine linking Jupiter, which is 0 degrees Cancer, beliefs of the family. The Sun's in the 4th. The Sun's not unhappy in the 4th house. And it's in Aquarius, but forgetting the location of the planets, because those location of planets are going to change. Because if I did it, because they told us where I got the date and the time, they did it GMT, so I could have done a London chart, but I didn't, because I thought, well, this fella's in America anyway, we need to do a US chart, which is what we've got here. But we've got the majority of the planets below the horizon, and it's in Texas, it's 10:48 p.m. So your Carl bloke must have been knocking about somewhere. Either, I don't know, was he sitting with them in the control room going, oh, take another photo? Or was he on the telephone to them? Honestly, I don't know. I can't find out that information. So I thought, let's do a Syanstry chart. What was it that what was going on for him astrologically, not astronomically, but astrologically for him, that he decides that he wants the photograph to be taken. Okay, so this is the second chart. So let me just get it. So I'm going to go through the Syanstry chart with you, and then I'm going to read to you some of the speech itself, and you'll understand a little bit more, like while I'm sort of doing the wow thing. So this is the Syanstry chart. So we've got Carl's chart in the centre. We've got the date and time, as accurate as I can make it, that the photograph was taken, so the Libra ascendant, and how's that inverted commas impacting his chart. So using equal house, the ascendant of the moment that the photograph was taken in the US, okay, somebody goes, click, let's take a picture. How does that impact to his chart? Well, it's late in the day for him, you know, what's he doing up at that time of night, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, nighttime's better for anything to do with astronomy because, I don't know, maybe you can see things better. But look at this chart. So you've got, he's got his natal Mercury retrograde 3 degrees Scorpio, and the ascendant of the chart is Libra, and the degrees are 27, so that's near enough. Well, it is conjunct, but it's out of sign. But look at Pluto, okay, so transiting Pluto is 17 degrees Scorpio, and he himself has sun sign 16 degrees Scorpio, 49 seconds. Now Pluto's not retrograding, it's going direct. Pluto is on his sun sign and his Venus is 14 degrees. So we've got, it's already just by a degree or so just gone past his sun sign. But if you're a Scorpio and Pluto, your ruling planet, comes past your sun sign, that's going to be a really significant thing for you. I recorded when Neptune was exactly conjuncting my sun sign, wrote a whole flipping book about it, because it's a once in a lifetime thing and might not even repeat for other people that are this, well, it's not going to repeat for, anyway, outer planetary conjunctions don't repeat in your own lifetime. La la la. The MC of the event chart is conjunct to his natal Pluto, and transiting Sun is conjunct to his natal Saturn, which is in Aquarius. So the Sun, so we already know he's got Aquarius planets. He's got Saturn 21 degrees Aquarius. We've got his true node is 4 degrees Aquarius, and his MC is Aquarius, and the Sun. So this is the 14th of February, for goodness sakes. This is Valentine's Day, whether or not he's celebrating. Obviously not celebrating with his missus because he's communicating with Houston. But the transiting Sun is conjunct his Saturn, and the transiting Mercury 4 degrees is exactly conjunct to his true node. So he's got true node 4 degrees Aquarius, and the transiting Mercury. What's Mercury all about? Communication. What's the NorthNode all about? My life purpose. So I would have thought him, because he wouldn't have seen that photograph at that moment in time, but he's asked. Now, another point I want to make is that when we look at when things happen and dates and times and all the rest of it, sometimes things happen to people that aren't of their own volition. They get sort of caught up in astrology, I'm talking about now, get caught up in a sort of an astrological thing, and they start to manifest what particular planets are talking about. You can't engineer these things. You can't make them happen. You can't say, oh, well, you know, on the 14th of February next year I'm going to do this, that and the other. You can't predict it either. Sometimes things just happen. But it's the just happen things that I find fascinating, especially if you've got the dates and times for it. The transiting North Node is also in Aquarius, and it's in between his natal MC and his Saturn, because the transiting North Node is 16 degrees. That bundle of Capricorn planets falls into his 8th. Shh, let's not talk about it. But I love that Syanstry chart. I think that's a wonderful bit of astrology. Okay. Now, so the Voyager thing does his thing. He's got to give, you know, his job is at a university. He's got to give lectures and talks and all the rest of it. So on his, not his website, how can I call it? On the website planetary.org. So that was set up because of the work that he did. There's a little clip on there. I've put the links at the bottom of the show notes. And he's just reporting back to reporters or whatever about the photo, because the photo has now made its way back to Earth, and he's giving this little teeny speech, with Voyager did this, Voyager did that, Voyager did the other, and he talks about this pale blue dot, and he shows a photograph of it. So I thought, okay, so now the info's back, and he's giving his speech, okay, because if something's going on with your Mercury, you've got to be able to talk about it. And so this is the on the website they call it, this is the when he unveils the blue dot, because later it became a Burke and all the rest of it. Yeah. So this is the 6th of June 1990. This is transit. So this is him now talking to the press and going, the NASA this, did the other, and taking this amazing photograph. And I don't have the time that he makes this announcement. I'd sort of rather much lost the will to live at that point. But anyway, so just looking at his transits on his chart. Dom, 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 dom. The moon is in Scorpio. What sign of zodiac is he? Scorpio. His natal moon's in Sagittarius. So the moon is now in Scorpio, 18 degrees. His sun sign 16 degrees. And Pluto is now starting to retrograde. So this is the 6th of June, 1990. Now the blue dot photograph was taken on the 14th of February that year. So it's February, March, April, May, June. So this is 3 or 4 months later. They've got all their data. They're telling people about the stuff, okay? Mercury's on his ascendant in the sign of Taurus. The sun's in Gemini. Jupiter's in Cancer. He doesn't really in Cancer. But the moon and Pluto are conjunct, and Pluto's now retrograding on the day that he makes the announcement to the press. Okay, and the transiting NorthNode is still, because it's now, how many degrees is 8 degrees, and his natal one is 4 degrees, so it hasn't shifted too much. His MC, it's 3 degrees close. Okay, so this is the moment that he first announces that this thing has happened. Then we got to go a bit forwards in time now. He does stuff, he goes here, he does whatever, I don't know, gets divorced, has kids, his life progresses, and now he gives the speech. Okay, so I'm going to read you the speech, a smidgen of it, and then we're going to look at the chart for the speech. Okay, so this is what he says. Look again at that dot. That's here, that's home, that's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you've ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions, ideologies and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. The earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors so that, in glory and triumph, they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Think of the endless cruelties visited by the inhabitants of one corner of this pixel on the scarcely distinguishable inhabitants of some other corner. How frequent their misunderstandings, how eager they are to kill one another, how fervent their hatreds. Our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe are challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. The earth is the only known world so far to harbour life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, to which our species could migrate. Visit, yes. Settle, not yet. Like it or not, for the moment the earth is where we make our stand. It's been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There's perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores the responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known. Now, if that isn't Sun in Aquarius in the 4th house for the pale blue dot photo, I don't know what is. So when did he actually give the speech? So we've got that speech. I've called it blue dot. So I haven't got the time that he made that speech, but it's the 13th of October 1994. So he's had plenty of time from revealing the blue dot, thinking about it. So 1990, we're now 1994, and the speech that I just read to you, and that's only a teeny weeny extract of it because the flipping thing itself is plenty long. There's loads of people at the university introducing him and talking about themselves and what they've got up to and da. And that's only a segment of the speech itself because it's a pretty lengthy one. So what's now happening for him, because obviously he had to write this first, that he's delivering the speech, okay? And I'm loving Mercury retrograde. Mercury's retrograding in the sign of Scorpio, near enough conjunct, but not quite to his natal Mercury. So he's got Mercury 3 degrees Scorpio retrograde, and the date that he gives the speech, which I've just read to you, 13th of October 1994, and he's talking about the little blue dot, that is 5 degrees retrograde, and obviously it's going to retrograde back further towards his natal one. Jupiter is now in Scorpio, Venus is now in Scorpio, and the Sun's still in Libra, hasn't got there, and Pluto's further now. So Pluto is 26 degrees, so Pluto's gone past his sun sign. So it's almost like obviously he's writing this in retrospect, that it must have been pretty moving for him in some way to even have that image in his mind that the earth is this incy wincy teeny weeny, I was going to say lemon squeezy, but that was an advert somewhere, I think. The earth is absolutely teeny compared to everything else out in space. Now, as astrologers, all we're concerned with is our own solar system. I mean, that's pretty massive enough as it is. But if we go further out into space, then our solar system and our sun, they become teeny weeny as well. So he gives a speech, and the moon is now in Aquarius, and it's 4 degrees Aquarius, and his true node is 4 degrees Aquarius. Okay, so we've got that being activated, his sort of life purpose. So he does the speech, and it wasn't a big one at the time because he's giving it in a university. Something that's a speech that's given in a university is just going to get filed into drawer somewhere. You know, you've got to do a TED talk or something if you wanted to get out into the world. The Saturn's in Pisces, and Mars is in Leo. Chiron's in Virgo, conjunct his Neptune and Mars, and Uranus and Neptune are conjunct 22 degrees, 20 degrees in Capricorn, but it's the moon. So the moon is the faster moving planet. 13th of October, it's now exactly conjunct to his NorthNode. So sometimes people will say things that it doesn't come out of their consciousness, it comes from somewhere bigger than themselves. And obviously he went back to his normal life afterwards and did his thing, he became famous and the rest of it. Now, obviously, eventually he not eventually, but everybody dies. So I thought we might as well include his death chart. So this is the date that he died. So he's ill for a couple of years before he dies. And I'm not building him up to being some extraordinary person. What I'm focusing on today is the point that he's making, that it's pointless, absolutely pointless for us to hate each other and to kill each other and destroy our planet, because we are so small anyway. And like he said, I think he changed his mind about whether or not there was life on other planets when the blue dot thing happened, and he's talking about in that first to the press statement, he says that there is no life and we haven't found any life and there couldn't be life on any other planet. He says that in the speech later on, it's less likely to, but that one is quite adamant about it, that there is no life on other planets. And I personally, in my beliefs, I don't think there is. I just think we're jolly lucky that we've got our own planet, the house. But anyway, this is the date that he dies, 20th of December 1996. Been ill for a couple of years. He's had a transplant, hasn't worked. Transiting Mars is in Virgo. He's got Mars in Virgo. The Sun is in Sagittarius. He's got Moon in Sagittarius. Pluto and Venus have now transited into Saggy. He has remarried. He's on the third marriage now. We've got Neptune still in Capricorn, but Uranus has now gone into Aquarius, and Uranus is exactly conjunct to his MC, because transiting Uranus is 2 degrees and his MC is 3 degrees. So I'd say the predominant, what's the planet that whisked him away? I would have thought the sun itself. On the day itself, we obviously have to look at the moon, and the moon's just gone into Taurus, and he's got a Taurus ascendant and is now transiting through his 12th house. So it'd obviously be there for the whole of that day. And Chiron is 29 degrees Libra, but it's not doing anything in its business. I think it's a combo of Mars, the Sun, and possibly the Moon are the planets that helped him over to the other side. But Uranus on the MC, I think his death was unexpected. Not a total surprise, because he hadn't been well. So going back to the actual photograph itself, the pale blue dot photo, we've got the Sun in Aquarius and Moon in Libra. And when you sort of think about, like, if you want to save a planet, I would expect those are the 2 signs of the zodiac you're going to absolutely need. Aquarius is a sign that is less emotional, but will come up with weird ideas and allow things to happen. And Moon in Libra indicates that we need to be kind. And I liked when he gave his speech, he was talking about that it's most important for us to be kind. And you sort of think, how can somebody make that speech and then carry on and just live their lives afterwards and do other stuff and get into fights and arguments and whatever with other people about things and la la la. There was a lot of falling out in his life, falling out with other scientists and controversies and da 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 da. But Pluto was in Scorpio all of that time, and on that event chart itself, the Sun and Pluto are square to each other. It's pretty significant. Pluto's in Scorpio, and that's finished now. Pluto's just about to continue its transit through Aquarius, but maybe that's what we need to have happen. So that was when Pluto was in Scorpio. There was this emotional component to saving our world. Now that Pluto's actually in Aquarius itself, maybe that will be what happens during this, what will be lengthy Pluto in Aquarius transit. And maybe we definitely need to stop wars and fighting each other and hating, and let's just be a bit hippie here and do a bit of love and stuff. Surely life goes round a bit quicker. I mean, if we're going to do Eckhart Tolle, we need to remember that the ego is the thing we want to not feed. Anyway, Today we've been talking about, go listen to the whole talk. I've put some links at the bottom of the podcast show notes. And if you want to get to the podcast, then you need to go to this address, www.astromary, or one word, .libsyn, libsyn.com. So that's where my podcast is hosted. Most of you listen to it via there, but there's numbers of you that are also listening on YouTube, and I must apologise again that there's never going to be a chart on YouTube. There's no way for it to convert over. So if you want to see the charts, then do pop over to where I am here. Hello, I'm over here in Libsyn. I'm not on YouTube, but I'm communicating to YouTube and Spotify as well, yeah. So I'm going to be at the conference. I won't actually be here when you're listening to this, as I normally do my podcasts in the morning of the day, so Sundays I normally do them in the morning of the Sunday, spend the week preparing, that type of thing. We are coming up going to be doing an event chart for somebody that we made a chart for, and it was a prospective thing about whether or not they were or weren't going to get a job, or this job was going to work out, and it didn't work out. So we're going to look at why, whatever was going on with that chart. So we've got that coming up, and I hope you have a fab week, and I'll be back next week. Bye bye now.